And now, may I invite Mr. Vernon Noronha. Mr. Vernon Noronha is with the Tata Motors, and he's going to tell us about Tata Motors' business in Myanmar, sharing experience and lessons learned. Mr. Noronha, please take the session.
Ladies and gentlemen, I must thank the NIAS for inviting me here and sharing with you the experience Tata Motors has had in Myanmar. I cannot but say that it's been a very good experience, and we're looking forward to far greater business opportunities coming up from our investments in Myanmar so far. I will take you through what part of our civilian trade in Myanmar for Tata Motors, and then go a little deep dive into what we are doing there with the Myanmar Army. So after 2 days of deliberation, I need not tell you much about Myanmar and its population and its working age. Everything is positive. And it's undergone a great transformation in the last 5 years. And this is giving us a very good feel that the Myanmar market will open up not only for the transportation business in general, but for other businesses of the Tata Group companies. We've seen high growth rates, and that also encourages us to get into, because any growth, any commercial growth in any country, the direct offset of any commercial growth is transportation. And things will begin to move. And if they move by road, and an automobile company in trucking business should be one of the first beneficiaries of that sort of business that will crop up. There are key challenges, like in any other country. It's not particular to Myanmar, but there's a human resource challenge, and while people may be plenty, we faced skill level deficiencies. Regulation lacks detail. The banking system was fragile, it's improving. Land ownership is not yet, record keeping needs to improve. Local JV partners and distributors are difficult to find with sufficient expertise. And transport links and power are at best not as good as they are in India, and that's not saying much. So Tata Motors in Myanmar, we decided to put up an assembly plant in Myanmar, and this happened in 2010, where we had a contract with the Myanmar Automobile and Diesel Industries, MADI, and we set up a heavy truck plant at Magwe. That is the plant now in Magwe, and it was, initial investment was to manufacture up to 1,000 chassis per annum, which could take it and scalable up to 5,000 units per annum. So these are some glimpses of the Magwe plant. It was absolutely state-of-the-art. It was almost, as you know, Tata Motors has 7 plants in India. From our factory in Jamshedpur, which came up in 1956, to the latest plant in Sanand in Gujarat for the Nano. So all that expertise and all the learnings that Tata Motors had in setting up assembly plants was transferred to Myanmar. So we can say with great pride that this was a state-of-the-art plant, and which would guarantee very good quality in manufacturing of commercial vehicles. You can see the then Honorable Prime Minister walking through the plant. And this is the final vehicle rollout from the assembly line. Skill development was a challenge for Tata Motors. We had a sizable team working in Myanmar and doing the initial assembly, but skill development we decided to do training and employees and also offer scholarships under our CSR programs. And that earned us a lot of goodwill and respect from the local community. I saw a presentation, two speakers before me, saying that they were, you do CSR to sort of insulate yourself from local issues. I think that came out very well. We did a lot of training with them. Employment generation was one of the things that they look forward to, and we brought a lot of them to India and gave them online training at our plants in India. So they were able to experience the building of trucks in India, and they took back with them to Myanmar all those experiences. After you build a plant, you need a distribution channel to start selling the vehicles. So we took on contract AGI Myanmar, and he had 3 setups, operation in Yangon, and 6 touch points out of Yangon. So this is a feel of our dealerships over there. When any automobile manufacturer enters a country without a plant, there is a scare that he may introduce vehicles, and if it doesn't work out for him, he can close shop and walk out of the country. So therefore, we took the issue head on and we invested in a plant. That helped us to get distributors, because distributors were then fairly confident that we are a long-term player and we've put money in the ground. So then we got the distributors, and this distribution network is now growing. So 2 dealer setups at Yangon, selling Tata vehicles, commercial vehicles. And then along with the CII, we organized the Enterprise India show, and Tata Motors participated as a principal sponsor. So there was a lot of help from the local political leadership of Myanmar, the Indian ambassador to Myanmar, the Myanmarese ambassador to India, and the CII. We got a lot of support from all these agencies that helped us. So at the Enterprise India show, these were some of the enthusiasm that came out with respect to Indian investments in Myanmar. And we had a pavilion there, and some of the important guests at our pavilion. Senior ministers, industry, trade, commerce and agriculture, and the Honorable Ambassador of India, Myanmar, also were there at the show. I will now come to the defense business. This is of particular importance because somehow some people have an impression that Myanmar is run by the army. What we understood when we put up the plant, that there were inquiries from the defense forces of Myanmar about vehicles, about new type, modern generation vehicles, and how they could help. How could Tata Motors help them? We had an opportunity to have a look at their current fleet, and we found it at best a little old-fashioned, and they had a lot of imports from China where they were not trained on the vehicles, so they couldn't repair the vehicles. And we understand the military business very well, because Tata Motors has been associated with the Indian Army since 1956. We've supplied over 100,000 vehicles to the Indian Army and the security forces so far. And through our workshops and spare parts and network and training, that's what kept the relationship very strong with the defense forces. So we understood that this was an opportunity in Myanmar to go deep into the defense business because we could help them and we could repeat the success of India there. So a senior delegation from the MOD visited India in August 2012, and we had an opportunity to demonstrate some of our vehicles. We sent about 7 vehicles for trial to the Indian Army. There is no army in the world that buys vehicles without an initial trial. to see the interoperability, to see the usage. So we sent them vehicles on trial, and they decided that they would purchase the Tata Xenon 4x4 GS800. So after extensive user trial, Tata Motors was awarded a contract for supply of 600 numbers of Xenon GS800. And that's the vehicle you can see there. These 600 vehicles were delivered in a record time, and the Myanmar army was extremely happy with this type of vehicle. It had modern technology, it was easy to operate. The plant was there that was providing spare parts, and we took a lot of trouble to train the army, people on the operation of the vehicle and their maintenance. So naturally we get a repeat order for another 400 vehicles of the same category, which we supplied in March this year. And as is the DNA of Tata Motors, we go back to the customer, ask them what upgrades or what improvements they require, and they came up with increased canopy size, folded all three side slabs, where our engineers were very happy to redesign and customize the product to their specific requirements. That customization helped the Myanmarese army to get closer to our engineers, and now we have a good conversation going with them for the next level of projects. These are some of the vehicles at Bombay port getting ready to be loaded on a car carrier from Rangoon. After that, we decided another 6 vehicles were sent for trial. So this is an ongoing process, and now they are looking at shortlisting a couple of the heavier trucks. So from the pickup trucks, now we've moved up the scale, where we are planning to give them some of the 6x6, that means a 3-axle truck, all-wheel driven, and a 4x4 axle truck for repair, which we normally give to other UN security forces and US military command for operations in Africa. So you'll see some of the vehicles that we export. These were offered to Myanmar because Myanmar is a left-hand drive country. So all our vehicles which are meant for left-hand drive countries, those were given for trials, and now Myanmar is seriously looking at adding a few more of these trucks to their inventory, along with the training, along with the documentation, along with the spare parts support, and of course customization of the vehicles to suit their particular operating conditions. So in 2015, another senior delegation of Myanmar visited Tata Motors Pune, where they were shown new vehicles, and by that time Tata Motors had moved into the combat vehicle range. So you can see on the bottom left-hand corner our combat vehicle developed along with the DRDO for the Indian Army. The Indian present political leadership is going very strong on a Make in India program. A year ago, all these combat vehicles were being imported, but now this combat vehicle here at the bottom left-hand corner has actually been funded by the Government of India. The entire design and development has been funded by the Government of India, and Myanmar is one of the friendly countries, so we have a very senior visit from Myanmar in the next week at our plant in Pune, where we would also offer them the combat vehicle platform. So in this way, you can see that our cooperation with Myanmar is growing from strength to strength, largely based on taking the plunge and putting our plant in Magwe. That means giving a clear example, a clear message across that we are here to stay. And therefore, and from there we picked it up, distributors, military vehicles, and now taking them up the value chain. So Tata Motors knows that if you introduce vehicles to any army, and we introduce vehicles now to almost 17 armies across the world, it is not only the product, but very, very important is the upgrade of the product and the support. The support plays a very big role, so documentation, training, overall and midlife upgrade. For a combat vehicle, the vehicle will last 35 years, but the doctrine of war will not last 35 years. So you will have to put better communication systems, upgraded firepower systems, upgraded protection, and so we keep moving up and doing the midlife upgrade, which is very economical for our customers. So they don't invest in new products or systems, we just upgrade the old systems for them. So Tata Motors is willing to assemble locally. This is our long-term plan for Myanmar. We ship them SKD, CKD, CBU, spare parts orders. Assembled vehicles come out of the Magwe factory, and finished products go to the defense and security market. So, to put it in a nutshell, the product strategy focus for Myanmar would be to first we introduce logistics vehicles, then we build on the product portfolio introducing heavy trucks and troop carriers, and then undertake assembly at Magwe and train them on repairs, overall and midlife upgrades. The next is to move them into the combat vehicle range. Myanmar being a friendly country, we have a defense license, so we have to keep the Indian MOD informed that we are now parting with combat vehicles. Of course, not the guns, not the warfare systems, but the platforms. Normally, the guns and the warfare systems is a matter of choice of the local army, but we will integrate them on the platform. But basically, the platform has to move, and so the platform export to Myanmar for local build in Myanmar is what we will be moving towards. Thank you very much.
I can see that Tata Motors have already made a very important headway in Myanmar. And also I can tell you that I can see a very big future for Tata Motors. I believe eventually you will expand your business to the public sector rather than just confine yourself to defense only, okay? But when you move over to public sector for the public use cars and things like that, you have a very fierce competitor from China. They are importing lots of cars at a very competitive price, and we are also importing used cars from Japan as well as from other parts of the world for the passenger transportation and things like that. And I wish you good luck in your venture to Myanmar. And let's have our big hand to Mr. Noronha for his excellent presentation.